Hi, I'm Belinda Carlisle. This LadyCare device saved my life. I want all women to know about this.
Ooh, baby, do you know what that's worth? Ooh, heaven is a place on earth. They say in heaven, love comes first. We'll make heaven our place on earth.
Hi, I'm Jackie Brambles, and today I'm joined by pop music royalty, the iconic Belinda Carlisle.
Hi.
You've had the most incredible career, and you've had these anthems, not just pop songs, but anthems like Heaven is a Place on Earth and Circle in the Sand, shot you to international fame. Mm-hmm. And you still tour almost constantly around the world.
Yeah, I'm on the road for a good 7 months of the year,
Right.
off and on, and then I give myself a few months off.
How were you informed about the changes that your body were going to go through throughout your life? Did you have a very open family life where your mum talked to you about periods and then when you're older talked to you about menopause?
I do remember though, when my mom was going through the change of life, it was a really scary thing, because my mom had menopausal symptoms so badly that they were thinking about committing her to a psychiatric hospital at the time.
That's horrifying.
And she was not a well woman at all. And so in the
Were
back
you
of my
aware
mind,
of what that was?
Yeah, I was. And in the back of my mind for years and years, I thought, oh God, am I going to have menopause like my mother? And I don't know if it's a genetic thing anyway. It probably isn't. I don't know. But seeing her go through what she went through, and she still does actually at age 74, which is really bizarre to me, but whatever. Seeing her go through what she went through, I had that fear in the back of my mind that I'd have to go through that too.
So what did you educate yourself before it started happening, or at what stage did it begin for you, and how did it manifest itself in terms of symptoms?
Well, I mean, I have had a lot of friends who are older than me who would start to go through, I was in my early 40s and they in their late 40s, and they would start going through that change of life, and they go, oh my God, it's hell, and they get the hot flashes, and they didn't feel well. They were on HRT and gaining weight, and and their skin was a mess, and I thought, I'm hoping to God, maybe it won't happen to me. Maybe it won't happen to me.
Yeah.
And the arrogance of semi-youth. Anyway, so, but it did happen to me. And I, of course, was reading a lot about it. I figured, well, I don't smoke. I did drink at the time. I don't drink, I haven't had a drink, or had anything for 9 years, but so I thought, well, that's not going to be a problem then. Maybe, because I know that a lot of my menopausal friends who do drink or take drugs have it tougher than the ones that don't.
Right.
So I thought, well, maybe I'll, since I don't do any of that, I'll be okay. So.
And were you okay?
Well, I remember when I started getting like night sweats, and I was still in denial that it could be anything. It had to be something else. It couldn't be my hormones. And then I remember I would get like, not hot flashes, but I would get like this pressure that would build up in my head, and it'd get a little bit hot.
Right.
And I think, well, what is that? And I'd still be in denial. And then all of a sudden, it just started.
Right.
It just started for me. And I think the sleeplessness was always a drag, but I think for me, the biggest thing about menopause that I hated most of all were the hot flashes. And it got to be completely debilitating, where I would count them and I would be up to 40 a day, literally.
Wow.
And I remember being on stage, and the first song is just all of a sudden, I could feel it coming. It's like a train coming. And I would just, oh no, not now. And it would just, bang, it would happen, and I'd be drenched, and it was humiliating.
Okay. I can't imagine. I mean, hard enough, I think, for the average woman to get, push a trolley around the supermarket with one of those things happening. But you're on stage.
I know.
In front of thousands of people.
Yep, yeah, and you hope nobody notices, and they don't really from far away. But I mean, it's and you wonder when the next one's coming, and that's pretty much how I lived my life for a year until I couldn't take it anymore, and I needed to get my hormone levels done to see how I was going to deal with this, because I didn't want to take anything. I didn't want to take HRT. I knew there were bioidentical options that I could go in that direction, but I was still afraid of them.
Right, right. So what steps did you take? How did you begin
Well,
to address the symptoms?
I made an appointment at the with Dr. Eccles, actually, first of all. And then we looked at my chart. I got my blood levels done, looked at my chart. I had no estrogen. And he said to me, well, before we go into any sort of hormone replacement, I want you to try something. You know, I remember sitting there thinking, well, of course I'll try it, but it's not going to work. I mean, you know, it's just not. I was cynical about it. You know, even though I know that throughout history that magnets, you know, are used in a lot of medicine and you know, for all sorts of things.
Right.
So I thought, okay, well, I'll try it. And he said that they were doing a lot of testing on women with it, and that the results were really, you know, great. And he also said it could take a few days or it might start immediately.
And how long did it
started on the second day. I went from 40 hot flashes a day to 0.
No.
And I couldn't believe it myself. And it was not a placebo. I mean, it really went from 40 to 0. And the sleep got better, but for me, it was all about the hot flashes because they were debilitating. So I was jumping up and down going, oh my God, this is like the best thing ever. And I remember, it was funny because I remember like about 2 weeks into it, I lost one of the parts. So I was panicking and putting coins on it. And then I was getting fridge magnets and putting it, and nothing.
Wasn't working.
And I called the office and talked to Dr. Eccles' assistant, and I said, oh, I lost my magnet. I don't know what to do. Will a fridge magnet work, please? You know, and I was sort of desperate about it, you know, and the fridge magnet did not work. But as it happened, I was traveling back to London where I knew that they had some available. I went to a lot of different pharmacies. They didn't have them, so I you know, I begged and got another one. And then I obsessively looked online for them, and because I travel so much, and you know, I leave things in hotel rooms.
You're gonna lose things. Yeah,
it's part of traveling, and honestly, it completely changed my life. And I mean, I can't even tell you how much it's changed my life, because I literally, you know, my life was turning into a nightmare with these hot flashes.
Did you have any concerns about, you know, other side effects with this or anything like that?
Honestly, I didn't really care.
You just wanted, yeah.
I knew it couldn't be as bad as HRT, and you know, I mean, I felt like $1 million. I felt better even when I was, you know, getting. I guess it's been so long ago. What do they call it? Periods. When I would, you know, when I would get crabby and stuff like that. I mean, I feel better than I did. I mean, than those years. So it's.
Had you experienced sort of mental health symptoms with the onset of menopause? You know, Dr. Nigel had talked about foggy headedness and lack of concentration and depression or moodiness and mood swings like that. Had you experienced that alongside the physical symptoms, or not so much?
Probably mood swings, you know, and depression, not really. Fogginess, yes. Lack of concentration, yes. But I mean, it's all. I mean, and the night sweats too, and the sleeplessness was really a bad thing for me.
Yeah.
So, but I have no problems anymore, honestly, with any of it, and it's shocking but true.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And do you keep it on you 24 hours a day?
Well, I did a little experiment. I wore it for 6 months every single day. And then I thought, well, it's like filling up a gas tank, and I'll take it off and see how long I can go without it. And it was about 3 or 4 days. I thought, you know, I'm done. I'm done with my menopause. It's finished. You know, yay! Jumping up and down. And then like on about the fourth or fifth day, I started feeling like the hot flashes, not as bad as they were, that I started feeling them coming on again, and I put it back in, and then
Straight away.
straight away.
That's absolutely amazing, isn't it? Do you find it incredible that it's not more well known, that it's not more widely used?
Yeah, because honestly, it really is the solution. And I think, for women who are afraid of HRT and for women who can't afford it, I can't imagine all the money that I've saved, for not having to dose myself up with hormones. But I have my theories of why we're not supposed to know about this. It would save a lot of people out there a lot of money and make, the pharmaceutical companies angry. And a lot less, it's not such a good thing for them, but for the general public and for women, it's like the best thing ever. It's the best thing since sliced bread. I always say it, and it really is.
You could be throwing them out at your concerts.
I would if I could. But I do carry around about 20 usually.
Do you really?
I give them out, yeah. And I'd say 98% of my friends, it's worked for. There was a friend of mine who had had a hysterectomy, and she had terrible hot flashes, and it worked for her, but she felt a bit uncomfortable she had cramps. But everybody else,
The vast majority.
yeah. I think 99% of my friends it works for.
I'm joined by physician Dr. Nigel Eccles, who is an integrated physician, which means exactly what?
Means that I incorporate some holistic philosophy into the way that I practice, and in my particular case that means the use of natural nutritional medicine and also some natural hormones.
I know that in your own practice you have an awful lot of people coming to see you who are beginning to experience or experiencing already severely unpleasant symptoms of menopause. What sorts of things are there out there typically for women when they get into that phase of their life?
Well, first of all, let me just say that menopause and the symptoms associated with it can be majorly intrusive to women. And I think as doctors sometimes we underestimate this. But the reality is that 80% of women who go into menopause will experience some kind of physical symptom. And probably not talked about so much is that 50% of those women will experience some emotional disturbance as well. The classical symptoms, just to go through them quickly, are the hot flushes, weight gain, bloating, loss of libido, vaginal dryness, loss of concentration or brain fog, anxiety, depression, sleep disturbance. These are just a few of the many symptoms that are classically associated with menopause. So intrusive for a start. So it's not surprising that women seek some kind of solution. HRT, of course, we know works on symptoms, but it has long-term downsides, which I'll maybe talk about in a minute. But women, if they don't seek HRT, will often look for some natural solution. Could be a herbal medicine that they buy over the counter. Usually they involve the use of herbs which are rich in phytonutrients or plant estrogens, if you like. And in some women, they have a positive effect. In others, they don't. In my own particular work, I've been most impressed in the natural arena with what we've found with the LadyCare device, because it seems to work in 75% of women who use it, which is quite a large number, and relieving menopause symptoms significantly over a period. Sometimes it's within days, but from our studies, it's usually certainly within the first month and even more dramatically after 3 months.
You could give us a brief lesson in actually what is the menopause? What happens to women's bodies when they reach that phase of their life that triggers all these unpleasant symptoms? What's actually going on there?
Well, the symptoms of menopause coincide with the key female hormones declining. So when estrogen and progesterone usually falls first, but when estrogen and progesterone fall, testosterone as well should be put into the equation because that also declines. When they fall, we get the symptoms. And in fact, that is what we think causes or brings about the main symptoms that are associated with menopause. There's no question that conventional HRT relieves symptoms. It does. You're basically restoring some of the key hormones, albeit synthetically. It works. However, the long-term downsides, well published, significantly published in the Women's Health Initiative study, almost 12 years ago that was published, are that there's increased risk of breast cancer, heart disease, stroke, brain degenerative disease, dementia that is, and deep vein thrombosis or clots. So it's not without long-term complications. That has led to conventional HRT becoming less popular with women, actually. A lot of women, post that study, took themselves off it, even without their doctor's knowledge, because they were frightened about the long-term complications.
It's a hideous position to be in, because on the one hand, if you don't do anything about these symptoms, for many, many years, it's going to have a very negative effect on your life. And the only conventional treatment that has been on offer comes with these really scary risks.
That's right, and it's a dilemma. And you can understand why women seek an alternative and are shying away now from conventional HRT. Even doctors are reluctant to prescribe it beyond 5 years because it seems to be in the long term that those risks that I mentioned come into play. So women who come and see me are obviously seeking an alternative, and hence the work that I've done with LadyCare has been, I think, the most significant breakthrough. I don't shy away from saying that. It's I think, one of the most significant breakthroughs in the natural management of menopause symptoms.
And how did you first come into contact with it? How did you first become aware of this device?
Well, I've had a long-standing interest, and that's part of my philosophy. I'm very interested in non-invasive medicine, ways of relieving symptoms, ways of helping disease process, if you like, without the use of invasive chemicals or other invasive methods, if it can be avoided. So I've always been interested in magnetic fields and how they can be applied to the body therapeutically. It's in that context that I came across LadyCare. So when I heard of the benefits it was achieving in relieving menstrual pain, that didn't come as a surprise to me because I was aware of research which shows that magnetic fields can relieve pain. What came as a big surprise, though, was how on earth it was relieving menopause symptoms. And how did we know that? Because some of the women who were wearing it to relieve period pains were becoming perimenopausal, so they still had periods, but were starting to get symptoms of menopause. And it was relieving, we just started to get the feedback, my menopause symptoms have disappeared. And we were scratching our heads over that, as how on earth could wearing this device, which clips into the underwear, how on earth could that be relieving menopause symptoms? It was a major research challenge for us. We know now, we think we know now from our latest research how it's working. And it's not a hormone mechanism. It's not building up hormones. It's not a HRT replacement, but it's working in a different way. And if I may share that with you very briefly, in menopause, part of the nervous system called the autonomic nervous system becomes imbalanced.
That's menopause is causing that imbalance.
Exactly. The decline in the hormones is leading to this imbalance in the autonomic nervous system. The research we've done with LadyCare suggests that it's causing, it's redressing or it's correcting that imbalance that occurs in that part of the nervous system. And that, we think, is primarily how it's relieving menopause symptoms.
So is it in any way, is the magnetic field from the device stimulating the ovaries or affecting the body internally?
We don't think so. We've looked at hormone levels before and after wearing LadyCare, and there's no significant difference. So
It's really taking hormones out of the equation.
Yeah, exactly. And we weren't sure about that at first, but it seems now from the later research that we've done, it is not a hormone mechanism. It's working on a completely different part of the body, i.e. this part of the nervous system.
So tell me about the device.
You can see it's small, it's discreet, it fits into the underwear more or less over the uterus, and it clips on by magnetic force. And in fact, not only is it a powerful magnet, it's not your fridge magnet, it's much more powerful, but actually it's designed so that actually this part is a directional plate, which means that the magnetic field is forced inwards into the body, so it doesn't escape outwards. So the design is also I believe, part of the way it works and why it's so efficient, and it seems to be so efficient in relieving symptoms.
And somebody who is a big believer in the device is Belinda Carlisle. Tell us about your relationship with her and how you first met.
Well, I met Belinda probably about 3.5, maybe 4 years ago now, and she came to me. She had some challenges with her well-being. I felt that given what she told me about her history, that this device might be more appropriate for her. And so she tried it, and she had significant results. It really made a big difference to her well-being. It didn't surprise me because I'm getting that feedback from clients all the time. So her story is very typical of what we hear consistently from women who try the device.
Beyond the anecdotal feedback that you've had from your patients, what sort of trials have taken place?
Well, we did, firstly, we did a big study on 508 women in the UK who hadn't tried the device before. We monitored 23 different menopause symptoms over a period of 6 months. And we found that of those symptoms, they were significantly relieved by, they had significant relief in 75% of that cohort of women. So that's a big number. It doesn't work for everybody, but in some it worked within days, in others they only noticed differences after a month, and then some even more so after 3 months of wearing the device. But it needs to be worn all of the time, preferably also during sleep as well.
I was going to ask that. Is it an instant fix the minute you clip it on?
For most women, not. Some, they can see the effect within a couple of days. It really can be that quick. We like to say that, and this is really from general feedback and from our studies, that it can take a month before you notice any differences. And sometimes, even at 3 months, there are more significant differences than after a month.
So it's pretty impressive feedback that you're getting.
Impressive feedback. It's such a simple thing, really, but it's one of the things that I'm involved with that I'm most excited about, actually.
Amazing.
I absolutely love the LadyCare. It has changed my life. I feel a lot better. It really does work.
I feel just normal again. It's just a normal feeling that, I don't wake up wet in the morning, my heart's not racing, that, I'm not going to be plagued by heavy bleeding. So I feel, more energetic. My skin feels better. LadyCare has just completely balanced me. I don't know whether that's the right word to use, but it's just balanced the way I feel.
Ladies, ladies.